Okay, we can see here, okay, experiment number 15. The aim is to identify the stages of gamete development, that is a TS of testis and a TS of ovary through permanent slides. Okay, that is the aim, and the experiment number is 15. Okay, you can see the aim, and next after aim, okay, you can go with the requirement. Next procedure, as already I told you, observation from, okay, observation. Okay, for this you have to write on the right side. Here you can see the TS of mammalian testis, okay, identification characteristics and general characteristics. And next here you can see the diagrams. There are two diagrams. Okay, the diagram on the left side, no need, only the diagram on the left side only you can draw, and the diagram has to be drawn on the left side of the record. Okay, okay, here only one diagram. Already you can see it was striken off, whichever that is not required. Okay, only the other diagram only you have to draw. Okay, the diagram has to be drawn on the left side, whereas the observation, that is the identification characteristics and the general characteristics, you have to write on the right side. Okay, that is a TS of testis, and the next one is the TS of mammalian ovary also there. Okay, in this also identification characteristics and general characteristics you have to write on the right side, whereas the diagram is there, that a diagram TS of ovary. Okay, that a diagram you have to draw on the left side. So after this you can go with the result and the precautions. Okay, result and the precautions should be written on the right side. Anybody is having any doubt here regarding experiment number 15?
No, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, next coming to our topic. Okay, we are discussing about the energy flow. In that we are discussing about food chain and food web. Okay, that is when you observe here, okay, the plants are considered as the producers of the ecosystem. Okay, the organisms which will feed on producers, we are calling them as a primary consumers. Okay, and the organisms which will feed on herbivores, we are calling it as a carnivores. In precisely we have to call them as a primary carnivores, which are also called as secondary consumers. And those animals that depend upon primary carnivores for food are labeled as secondary carnivores or tertiary consumers. Okay, and if the food chain starts with the producers and so on, okay, then such a type of food chain we call it as a grazing food chain. Okay, when you observe the food chain, the grazing food chain, you can see here one grazing food chain is mentioned here: grass, goat, and man. So here the grass is the producer, and goat is the primary consumer, and man is the secondary consumer. That means primary consumer means we can say it as a herbivore, And a secondary consumer means we can call it as a carnivore. Okay, this is the simple food chain, which is showing three trophic levels. So the minimum trophic levels in a food chain are three, minimum three. Minimum three trophic levels will be present at each food chain or in each ecosystem. Okay, it may ranges from 3 to 5 depending upon the type of the ecosystem. As already I told you, there is another type of food chain, that is the detritus food chain. Okay, the detritus food chain begins with the dead organic matter. Okay, the detritus food chain starts with the dead organic matter. That means the organisms which will feed on dead organic matter. It is made up of decomposers, which are heterotrophic organisms. That means the only food chain which starts with the decomposers or heterotrophs is the detritus food chain. Remaining all other food chains starts with the producers only. This is the food chain which starts with the heterotrophic organisms. Okay, that is it starts with the decomposers like fungi and bacteria. They meet their energy and nutrient requirements by degrading the dead organic matter or detritus. These are also known as saprotrophs. Okay, the decomposing organisms, we are calling it, okay, we can also call them as saprotrophs because as they perform saprotrophic nutrition. Because they feed on dead and decaying organic matter, and okay, by decomposing those materials, that's why they have given this saprotrophic nutrition. Okay, how this decomposes function? The decomposers secrete digestive enzymes that break down dead and waste materials into simple inorganic materials, which are subsequently absorbed by them. Okay, when you observe the digest, okay, these saprotrophs, whether it is a fungi or bacterium, what they will do means they they secrete digestive enzymes outside their body on which they are dead and decaying organic matter they are growing, and these enzymes will digest this dead and decaying organic matter and converts the complex organic substances into simple inorganic substances, okay, which are later absorbed by the decomposers or saprotrophic organisms. Okay, and next, when it comes to aquatic ecosystem, in an aquatic ecosystem, grazing food chain is the major conduit for energy flow. That means in aquatic ecosystem we'll find majorly the grazing food chain. Okay, here also, okay, because in aquatic ecosystem, okay, the food chain starts with or food web starts with producers which are formed by the phytoplanktons, okay, some other plants. So in aquatic ecosystem also we'll find a grazing food chain. But when it comes to terrestrial ecosystem, as against this, in a terrestrial ecosystem, a much larger fraction of energy flows through the detritus food chain than through the grazing, okay, grazing food chain of aquatic. Okay, that means when compared to the aquatic ecosystem, in case of terrestrial ecosystem, we'll find more amount of energy flow. Okay, we'll find two types of food chains. One is grazing food chain and the second one is a detritus food chain. Grazing food chain, that means if the food chain starts with the producers, we call it as a grazing food chain, whether it is a terrestrial ecosystem or an aquatic ecosystem. But if the food chain starts with the decomposers, which will depend upon a decaying organic matter, then such a food chain we call it as a detritus food chain. So we'll find two types of food chains. But here in this paragraph, what they are explaining means the difference in the energy flow in the grazing food chain of aquatic ecosystem, the grazing food chain of a terrestrial ecosystem. They are comparing the energy flow. Okay, when you compare the energy flow in aquatic ecosystem with that of terrestrial ecosystem, in terrestrial ecosystem only, we'll find more energy flow through the decomposers or through detritus food chain. So detritus food chain may be connected with the grazing food chain at some levels. Okay, that means the detritus food chain is connected with the grazing food chain, because when you observe here, okay, the detritus food chain starts with the decomposing decomposing organisms. What these decomposing organisms are doing, they are converting the complex organic molecules into simple inorganic molecules, of which some of these organic substances are absorbed by the decomposers, but some will remain as in the soil, which are taken up by the producers, which are absorbed by the producers. So at this stage, we can say there is some interaction between the detritus food chain and the grazing food chain. That is, the detritus food chain may be connected with the grazing food chain at some levels. That is, some of the organisms of detritus food chain are prey to the grazing food chain animals. And in a natural ecosystem, some animals like cockroaches, crows, etc. are omnivores. So these natural interconnection of food chains make it a food web. Okay, that means that means one food chain is interconnected with the another food chain. For example, if you take the detritus food chain, example, okay, can you say, okay, a detritus food chain means we can say decomposes which are feeding on dead and decaying organic matter. Okay, on this dead and decaying organic matter, the earthworms are also feeding. And next, on these earthworms, okay, some birds are feeding. Okay, small bird might be feeding. And on that small bird, another large bird might be feeding. There are some birds which will feed on another small bird. Okay.
Eagle.
Eagle. Okay. So when you observe here, this bird is not only eaten by another large bird, that bird will be eaten by some other organism also.
Snake.
Yes. Okay, snake. Okay, when you observe the snake not only feeds on the bird, it also feeds on frog, and frog in turn feeding on some small insect, and this insect is feeding on certain plant material. So that is another food chain. So plant, insect, snake, okay, frog, snake, and the eagle. That is one food chain. And we'll find another food chain here, grazing, okay, detritus food chain, the decomposing organic matter. Okay, we'll find earthworm, and which is okay, a small bird and a large bird like eagle. So the eagle is present in both the food chains. Okay, and this bird is also present in both the food chains. Okay, so the small bird may be present in two different food chains, because the bird not only feeds on the earthworm, it also feeds on insects. It also feeds on grains. So in that case, what happens? One food chain is interconnected with the another food chain, forming a web-like structure. That is so such a interconnection between between different food chains. We are calling it as the food web. Okay, why this food web is developed means because of the why we are used this food web means because of the presence of some omnivores. Okay, if a organism is feeding on only one type of food material, okay, we will find only one type of food chain. The food chain will be linear. But if the one organism is feeding on different types of food material, that is sometimes it is behaving as herbivore and sometimes it is behaving as a carnivore. In that case, what happens? It can feed on different types of food. So an interconnecting food chains is developed. Okay, which is okay, and such organisms which will feed on a different types of food material, we are calling it as omnivores. Okay, like cockroaches. Okay, birds like crow, and okay, animals like a human. Okay, mammals like a human. Okay, these are all considered as the omnivores because okay, because of the presence of this omnivores only, it is resulted in the formation of this food web. So that's what you can see. How would you classify human beings? Human beings are omnivores, no exception. No exception. Even a vegetarian is also a omnivore. Why? Because it will take milk, the product that is obtained from animals. Even though he is not directly feeding on the flesh, but he is using the food material that is obtained from the animal. So every human is a herbivore, okay, omnivore. Yes. Okay, that we are taking the animal products, whatever the animal product we are taking. Okay, different types of animal products. No. Okay, the products that are obtained, not only flesh eating, not only the flesh eating are called as carnivores. Even if you are using a product that is obtained from animal, that one also will be taken into consideration. So every human is a omnivore, no exception. And next, organisms occupy a place in the natural surroundings or in a community according to their feeding relationship with other organisms. Okay, that means depending upon their feeding habits. Okay, that means if the food material that is required for that organism is available in that environment, in that area, that organism will survive. So that means the place where an organism is living, it mainly depends on the feeding habits or feeding relationship. Okay, definitely that organism has got some relationship with the feeding. Okay, that means, okay, so organisms occupy a place in the natural surroundings or in a community according to their feeding relationship with other organisms. So based on the source of their nutrition or food, organisms occupy a specific place in the food chain that is known as a trophic level. Okay, that means based upon the feeding habit of an organism, whether it will okay feed on plants or it will feed on an animal or it will feed with other animal. Okay, whatever, that means based upon the type of their feeding habits. Okay, all the organisms are differentiated into different trophic levels. That means if organism is feeding on a particular food material. Based on that, they are placed in a different trophic levels. For example, if you observe the plants, okay, all the plants are able to perform photosynthesis and prepare their own food material. Such organisms we call it as autotrophs. Okay, and okay, in ecological terms we call it as producers. That means if you take one ecosystem, in that ecosystem we'll find different types of plants. Grasses will be there, herbs will be there, shrubs will be there, large trees will be there. All they are producers. All they fall into one trophic level. All they fall into one trophic level. Because they are all producers. That's why if you take a herbivore, for example, if there are deers are there, cows are there, goat are there, sheep are there in that ecosystem. Elephant is there, giraffe is there. Okay, these are all herbivores. That means they feed on plant material only. Okay, all these organisms will fall into only one trophic level, that is the herbivores, or we can also call it as a primary consumers. Okay, producers belong to the first trophic level, whereas herbivores are primary consumers to the second, and the carnivores, that is the secondary consumers, will fall into the third trophic level. Okay. Means the producers are the organisms belonging to the lower trophic level. Okay, and the next to the producers is the herbivores at a little bit higher trophic level, and from okay herbivores to the next, that is the carnivore, will form the next higher trophic level. So producers belonging to the first trophic level, herbivores are primary consumers belong to the second trophic level, carnivores are secondary consumers belong to the third trophic level. You can see here producers belong, okay, the plants, it may be the phytoplankton. Okay, if you take an aquatic ecosystem, in that we'll find phytoplankton, we'll find small algae and small plants. Okay, in that, okay, all these fall. And if you take a terrestrial ecosystem, you'll find types of plants, grasses, herbs, shrubs, trees. Okay, like this. So all they fall into one trophic level, that is the producers. And the next, that is the second trophic level is for, okay, is occupied by the herbivore, which are commonly called as the primary consumers, the zooplanktons. In an aquatic ecosystem, we'll find zooplankton, microscopic animals, which will feed on phytoplanktons. And we'll find a grasshopper. And next, in animals, we can say cow. In mammals, okay, like that. And the next, the secondary consumer, it will fall, okay, which are considered as the primary carnivores or secondary consumers, will fall into the third trophic level, which includes small birds, small fishes, wolf, foxes, that is small carnivores. And next, the tertiary consumer, okay, which occupies, okay, which we commonly call it as a top carnivore. That means it will feed on another carnivore or herbivore, anyone, whichever it is available. So that's why we call them as, because they are able to eat any organism. That's why they are considered as the top carnivore, which occupies the fourth trophic level, which we commonly call it as tertiary consumer or secondary carnivore, which occupies the fourth trophic level, includes like a man, eagle, lion, which are at a higher Okay, that is how the trophic levels were represented. Okay, the important point to note is that the amount of energy decreases at the successive trophic levels. Okay, that means the total amount of energy will be gradually decreasing from lower trophic level to higher trophic level. That means the producers are having the high amount of energy because they are obtaining from sun, and they are the primary source of food material to all the organisms. Already we discussed about productivity now. Whatever the energy that is synthesized by the producers, that is not stored in the producers. Okay, that is the gross primary productivity is not completely available to the next trophic level. Some amount of energy in the form of respiration, and the remaining one we are calling it as a net primary productivity, that is only made available to the next trophic level. So some amount of energy is lost. That means here we can see higher amount of energy will be present with the producers, and the same time, okay, that NPP which is present, that is the net primary productivity that is present in the producer, is taken up by the herbivore. Okay, will be taken up by the herbivore. Okay, when you go with the herbivore, that means all the energy is not getting transferred. No, some amount of energy is already lost in the producers, and that an NPP will form the source for a herbivore. And in that herbivore also, in that gross secondary productivity, some amount of energy is used in the form of respiration, which is lost into the environment. And next, the remaining, that is the net secondary productivity at a herbivore, is only made available to the next trophic level, and that one will be taken up by the carnivore. So from one trophic level to another trophic level, gradually the transfer of energy is decreasing. Okay, that means the energy that is present in that trophic level is gradually decreasing. That's why we are calling it as okay, lower trophic level to higher trophic level. So when any organism dies, it is converted to detritus or dead biomass that serves as the energy source for decomposers. So when any organism dies, whichever the trophic level it belongs, it forms the detritus and it undergoes decomposition by the decomposers. So organisms at each trophic level depend on those at the lower trophic level for their energy demands. So what the organisms are doing means, the organisms are depending upon the lower trophic level organisms for their energy requirements. That is the the herbivores on the producers, and carnivores, primary carnivores on the herbivores, and secondary carnivores on the primary carnivores. Okay, like that, they're depending. So in each trophic level, we'll find a certain amount of energy. So each trophic level has a certain mass of living at a particular time called as a standing crop. Remember this one very clearly. Standing crop, very, 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 very important. Regularly asking question in a NEET examination. Standing crop, standing state. Okay, we'll come across that one later. First, you understand the standing crop. What is meant by standing crop? The amount of biomass, or we can also say the energy, because the biomass only will provide the energy. So the total amount of energy or biomass that is present in each trophic level at a particular period of time. That is called as a standing crop. Okay, that is the standing crop is measured as the mass of living organisms or the number in a unit area. So we can calculate in different ways. This biomass or the standing crop. Okay, the standing crop of any trophic level can be calculated by calculating the amount of biomass, or we can also calculate the number in that particular area, unit area. Okay, that means in the organisms are smaller in size, generally we can go with a number. If organism is large and a less number means we can go with the biomass. So the biomass of a species is expressed in terms of fresh or dry weight. Fresh weight means with water content. Fresh weight means with water content. Remember one thing, water has no role in providing energy. Water has no role in providing energy. That means water molecule will not provide any energy, but it helps in releasing energy. That's it. It by by participating in general by certain biochemical reactions. But water alone cannot provide any energy. That's why instead of taking fresh weight, it is better to take a dry weight. That one will give the correct biomass. But okay, if that is not possible, generally we can go with the fresh weight also. So here the biomass of a species is expressed in terms of fresh or dry. Anything we can take into consideration, but measurement of biomass in terms of dry weight is more accurate. That's what I said before. Okay, the measurement of biomass in terms of dry weight is more accurate. Why? Because if you take a fresh weight, the fresh weight consists of water content also, but the water content will not provide any energy. Water will not provide any energy. Even if you take into consideration into the weight, it has no value of energy production. That's why if you take the dry weight of biomass, then it will give the accurate energy levels of that organism or of that trophic level. That's why instead of a fresh weight, it is better to take a dry weight. Okay, and next, the number of trophic levels. Okay, grazing food chain is restricted as the transfer of energy follows 10% law. Only 10% of the energy is transferred to each trophic level from the lower trophic level. Okay, when you observe the energy transfer, okay, we are saying no. Okay, from the producers, the energy will be transferred to herbivores, and from the herbivores, it is transferred to primary carnivores, and from primary carnivores, it is transferred to secondary carnivores or climax carnivores or top carnivores, we say. So, okay, how much amount of energy is getting transferred from one trophic level to another trophic level? How much amount of energy is getting transmitted means it is following the 10% law. Okay, what is this 10% law states? Okay, that is from producers to herbivores, only 10% energy is getting transmitted. Okay, from producers to herbivores, that is from producers trophic level to the herbivore trophic level. Okay, how much amount of energy is getting transmitted means only 10%. That means the remaining 90% will be either it is used or it will be lost into the environment. But the only 10% only getting transmitted. Why? Because if you take a herbivore, okay, suppose some 100 Okay, 100 grams of biomass is produced by the producer. In that 100 grams, some 50 grams is used for its respiration, and the remaining 50 grams is stored. Okay, and that 50 grams will be stored in different parts of the plant. Okay, say it is stored in the leaves, it is stored in the seeds, it is stored in fruits, it is stored in the stem, it is stored in the root. So a herbivore will come and eat the food material, or it will eat the plant. It will not eat the total plant, no. A herbivore will not eat the total plant. Okay, a herbivore will not eat the total plant. Okay, here what happens, it will eat either seeds or fruits or stem or root or leaf, but not all together. It will eat, for example, if a herbivore is eating only leaves, it will not eat other parts of the plant. Then what happens, whatever the energy is only transferred, the remaining is left with that plant only, no. And it is when the plant dies, it will be decomposed and it is lost into the environment. So if, for example, okay, what is the amount means, totally will be 10% only.